How do I do it all? The Brezza gives me the power.
New Zealand make it 2 wins out of 2 and they move to the semi-finals of the ICC Men's Champions Trophy 2025. They take India along with them before both teams have even played each other. That'll happen later this week in Dubai. Bangladesh go down and take Pakistan down with them officially out of the running for the semis. Rachin Ravindra's love affair with the ICC men's ODI events continues. We'll talk about him and all the other events and stories from this game in Rawalpindi on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Match Day. Wasim Jaffer in studio with me. We will also hear from Dale Steyn and Shane Bond just before the sun comes up in Christchurch for Bondi. But Wasim, we thought it was going to be a fairly straightforward chase. It was a little tricky early on. They did have a couple of early New Zealand wickets. The difference was just one man.
Yeah, Rachin Ravindra coming back for the first game, got a very good 100. Good pitch to bat on, good conditions, but there were some troubles, 15 for 2. Williamson will be a little disappointed. He didn't get a hit again. But I think Rachin Ravindra and then Tom Latham made sure that there's no more hiccups after that.
Some player, Rachin Ravindra, Shane Bond, isn't he?
Oh, he's quality. I think, always touted as a superstar from a young age, but come in, especially to the big tournaments, and play so well. And on the back of a concussion too, I think it's that final thing for New Zealand to have their last batsman come in and score some runs. So now everyone in that lineup's got some runs behind them leading into the knockout phase. But yeah, he's such a good player to watch and just scores so freely all around the ground.
Yeah, I think I remember during the ODI World Cup we thought he's never opened and he's opening. Here, I think he's not going to be looked at as a number 4. He's coming to number 4. Dale Steyn, when you see Rachin Ravindra as a batter, what do you see?
Just a class act, isn't he? He just plays classic cricket shots, nothing extravagant, but he just looks really good, just does the basics well, hits the bad ball for 4, hits the good ball for 4, but doesn't look horrible when he's doing it, and he's clearly got some confidence now in the last few years, especially when it comes to ICC events and how to score runs, and long for him, long may it continue.
If I could go deeper in that one point you said there, Dale, in your opening comments, he hits the good balls for 4. That puts him in sort of a slightly higher league of batters and stroke players, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I was watching the game and I didn't really have the comms on. I was kind of lying on the bed and so I didn't hear what the commentators were having to say. But every time I was watching, he just plays such a beautiful shot through the covers. Like, I saw how tight the 2 covers were from Bangladesh, and he just found the gap with absolute ease. And that's hitting, like, not the bad ball, that's hitting the good ball. You can run in and bowl hard length, and I saw South Africa do it the other night to Afghanistan, and they just didn't really have an answer for it. Like, when do we go? And they had to kind of wait for the bad ball, the full ball that just never came. But class players are able to hit that ball, that particular ball, away for 4, and then it makes you think as a bowler, what do I have to do now? Do I have to change my game, or what happens? And that's exactly what he did tonight. It looked like Bangladesh just didn't have an answer. When they bowled a good ball, he managed to hit it for 4, and when they bowled a bad ball, bang, capitalised on that too.
He's gone past Kane Williamson for the most hundreds in ICC men's ODI events. He's played 1 tournament plus 1 day in the next one, Bondi.
Yeah, I quite like him at 4. If you look at his record in Asia now, he's probably averaging in and around 50, 30 at home. So when he's at the top of the order in New Zealand where the ball swings a little bit, he has found himself in a little bit of trouble. But when the ball's not moving, he's such a good player of both pace and spin, and he scores so quickly. He's a very dangerous character. So for me, having that left-hander at number 4 makes a difference. And I look forward now to New Zealand playing India. New Zealand could potentially have 5 left-handers in their top 8, which, coming up against 2 left-arm spinners, I think makes New Zealand always a good match-up against India.
Okay, question on all our minds is, and I'll probably stick with you for this, Bondi, is now what do they do about their 11?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think whatever happens, Ravindra comes back in and he'll move to the top. Who he'll replace, that's a tough one. That's the beauty for New Zealand. It's a dilemma for Gary Stead. Whoever he picks, he probably can't lose because everyone's scoring runs and everyone's a good player.
You've worked with me long enough to know that's not enough, Bondi. So go on then.
No, I think Conway will drop out. I think they'll go for the left-hand right-hand combination on the back of Young. I know Young got knocked over early today, but on the back of his 100 in the first game, I think they'll think the left and right-hand combination is the way to go.
Excellent. Let's get thoughts from Wasim and Dale as well. Such a tough one because Devon Conway is so highly rated in our part of the world too, and he played a good innings today when he sort of steadied the ship after the 2 wickets. Do you have to make that tough call? Is there any chance they can fit everybody in?
Highly difficult. You would want Mitchell to come back in, but Conway will be disappointed that he didn't get on and get a big score today. He looked really good. He played out that spell out really well, but then got out. But probably he is the only one looks like who's going to miss out.
Dale, you've seen Dubai as a surface, and India have actually gone in with two specialist seamers, with Hardik as the third option. And I guess you can see where I'm going with this. Can they consider, given the spin and the sort of dryness we've seen in Dubai, right, let's get Mitchell in. Maybe we could do away with that spot that was occupied by Nathan Smith one game and Kyle Jamieson today. Bring in Mitchell as a third sort of part-time seamer, or does that mess up the balance?
I was curious though, because he didn't bowl the other day, so I was curious whether he was injured or not, and that was going to be my chat about New Zealanders. That third seamer, are they going to have that third seamer? But in Dubai, it is a little bit slow, especially during the day. It does hold. It's just in the evening when the ball seems to skid on a little bit and becomes a little bit better for batting, and the seamers become a little bit easier to face. So New Zealand will just have to kind of like think about how they want to go about their bowling. Whether they drop Conway, that's a tough one. You want guys that are in form scoring runs, especially if you want to go on to win tournaments. So it's a tough call to make, but potentially one that could potentially help them and go on the whole way in this tournament.
Any legs in that argument at all, Bondi? You get 30 overs out of O'Rourke, Henry and Santner. Can you squeeze in 20 out of Phillips, Bracewell and maybe Daryl Mitchell and bring Mitchell in for one of the seamers?
I don't think so. I think New Zealand are batting well, and if you've got Santner at 8, Matt Henry can bat a bit. I think you've got enough. I think you've got enough batting options, and at the end of the day, you've got a very strong batting lineup as well. So you need the firepower. I think the only area of concern for New Zealand with their bowling is that the last 10 overs, and you want to have a few more seam bowling options at the back end. So to go on with just two frontline seamers sort of then ties the hands of the captain a bit and would put those bowlers under pressure.
All right, well, they have plenty of days to sleep over this, right? They've got a nice 5-day break, and that's when they play India and Dubai on Sunday. Let's talk about the supporting role, and Tom Latham does it so well. Sometimes he can lead like he did in the last game, but Tom Latham, no fuss, couple of wickets. It almost seems like there's no reason to panic when Latham's there.
Yeah, he looks very solid, looked solid in the last game as well. And you need somebody like that in the middle order. A left-hander who's batting well, plays spin really well, scores both sides of the wicket, and his form is good signs for New Zealand.
Yeah, let's talk about the Bangladesh story as well over here. Because when they had them, 3 for 2, we thought, all right, maybe they can make a game of this. And something we have seen is Naid Rana has got something about him. Thaskin, we know, has been good for a while. What's the story today? Is their batting just let them down?
Yeah, I think they were probably close to 50 to 60 runs short, I would say. They would have easily could have put 300 plus on that pitch. They've got themselves to blame. It's too much to ask for from the bowling unit to get team like New Zealand all out for below 240.
Yeah, let's get Bondi and Dale's thoughts on the Bangladesh quicks, and Naid Rana is really one to look out for, Dale.
Yeah, great pace, and you can see that over that he got Kane Williamson out on, it looked like he kind of rattled him a little bit, no short balls, but it just looked like it kind of rattled him. That's a uncharacteristic shot for Kane to kind of like be freely playing outside the off. You see him normally in the early stage of his innings when he's coming out. He'll kind of hit that ball on its head and run it down a third man. But in this case, you kind of feel like the pace is just there. Maybe he just want to throw his hands at it a little bit. So he's got something about him, does Naid Rana. Anybody that bowls up at close to 150 k's an hour is definitely going to test guys. But unfortunately for Bangladesh, they've come to yet another ICC event and haven't really thrown a punch. And they'll be on their way, and that's very sad to see. You want to come here, and I did listen to Haydos briefly before the game started. If you're coming here to win these tournaments, you can't just be sparring the entire time, and that's what we saw with the innings and why they only got to not even 240. You at some point you need to throw a couple punches, and you need to try and take a dominance in the game, and today and the other day they definitely didn't do that.
Yeah, Bondi, anything to add on Bangladesh?
No, I like the look of their bowling attack. I mean, they've got the heat. They've got obviously the left armour, which New Zealand and a team like England doesn't have. The spinners are good, and the thing that Dale talked about too is the fine margins. They miss chances. If you miss those run-out chances or those drop catches, they're the difference between winning and losing a game. If they'd taken those chances, that this whole game could have been completely different. So I think there's a lot to work with their bowling attack. I think their batting in the end was the...
Yeah, 58 for 2, I think, when Devon Conway's run-out chance came, and there was a drop catch later as well. I'll just come back to you, Bondi, on Kane Williamson. I think it was 50-odd or 40-odd innings in one-day cricket without a single-digit score. I'll just come to Shane Bond in a moment on it. But twice in 2 games out in similar fashion, Wasim.
Yeah, I mean, today was a day probably you would have thought Kane Williamson will take his time, not a big score to chase, but unfortunately, you got to give credit to Naid Rana, how well he bowled that particular over. But you expect a player like Kane Williamson to come good sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we're not entering the conversation of when they need to find room for one batter. It's okay. We can just brush those 2 games aside for Kane Williamson, Dale Steyn.
No, absolutely. No, he's world class. Honestly, best in the world. He manages the innings so well there, and with the left-hander, right-hander combination, he's just the perfect fit and a wonderful player.
Yeah, Kane. The question on Kane I was asking was, I think it's been 40-odd innings before this tournament where he hadn't had a single-digit score in one-day cricket. He's had a couple of he's had 2 now, and in similar fashions in terms of the mode of dismissal, but absolutely no concern, right, on Williamson's form?
It always feels sort of strange when he gets out early because you never expect it from him. I mean, that line of attack is the line of attack for Williamson to bowl the ball just outside off stump and hope that he does something like that, and you've just got to be patient. But look, the one thing about Kane is it doesn't fluster him. He'll just be thinking, well, did I play how I wanted? No, I didn't. So I've got to be a little bit tighter in my next game, and it's just as likely as he'll come out the next game and score 100. That's how good he is.
It shouldn't be any surprise, Wasim, to us also. If you bowl at good pace and swing it just outside off, even our great batters can nick it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a universal thing. All the good batters, great batters have that problem. So no surprises.
All right. Is it fair to say that the 2 better teams have made it to the semi-finals? And what does this early sort of qualification do to the game in Dubai between India and New Zealand? How would they, you think, approach it?
Well, it'll be fight for 1 and 2, obviously. Whom they want to play. Obviously, teams coming from the other group. Both teams are going to be good. South Africa, Australia. England have a chance. So you want to be at the top of the table. So it's a fight between 2 really good teams to get ahead of themselves.
Would you play that game if you're both India and New Zealand as your best team and play it like it's a virtual knockout, or play it like it's a tournament game, or would you have the luxury to just try a few things ahead of the semi-final? It's a short tournament.
No, I don't think so. I think you should play your best team. It's only a couple of games after that to win the trophy. No need to rest somebody. I mean, they're getting sufficient rest anyway.
All right, punch for punch, how are India and New Zealand looking? Shane Bond, to you.
I think they're both 2. Obviously, I picked those 2 to go through from this group. I think both teams have got that World Cup experience, like deep in tournaments. New Zealand got a number of players who played in T20 World Cup finals, Test Championship, and you can sort of see that experience. And India's the same. So on the other side of the draw, I picked South Africa to get through and England, but it looks like perhaps Australia now, but that's still up for grabs. And I think whoever gets to the last 4, then it's they're 4 quality teams, and it's going to be 2 good semis. But I think the best 2 teams from this group are pretty clear, to be fair.
Now, before I go to Dale, would you like to tell us who you've picked Australia for instead of England? Is it for South Africa or Bondi?
Oh, me? Oh,
yeah,
I picked
I thought you said
England.
Yeah.
I picked England. I picked England and South Africa to go through. So,
but now that you said Australia, is that for England or is that for South Africa?
No, it's for England. Yes, I'm picking South Africa, definitely.
Good man. Happy with that, Dale Steyn? Just your assessment of India and New Zealand now that you've seen both teams, and big game tomorrow, Australia and South Africa.
Yeah, definitely the 2 best teams in this group have gone through in India and New Zealand. New Zealand are just like, they've looked so clinical. They look so good in the lead up to this tournament too. Guys are playing well. India, look to know those conditions well in Dubai, and they played really well in both their games. So deserved two teams to go through, and then massive game for South Africa and Australia tomorrow. Yeah, if South Africa can get over the line, I feel they'll have one foot into that semi-final already. And who knows? I'm not too sure what the news is on Klaasen. So if he doesn't play, if he's still sore, and they manage to get through, that will be great for them too, because then who knows, he might even be able to get another rest game and then just go straight into a semi-final. I'm not too sure. But yeah, big game tomorrow.
All right, and enjoy it, Dale. You're in Rawalpindi. You'll be at that game, and we look forward to having you next time on the show. Bondi, go get to work now, or is it time to sleep? It's what, 6 a.m.?
Yeah, it's time to go to bed for a few hours and get up and grind out the day.
Good man. We're just adjusting your body clock for when you come here.
Yeah, I'm getting on to Indian time. I am. I feel like that. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shane Bond, Dale Steyn. Always a pleasure. Wasim Jaffer, thank you very much for your time and your thoughts. New Zealand so much better today and deservedly marched through to the semi-finals. Still that big game against India to come on Sunday. But for now, we focus our attention tomorrow on Australia versus South Africa. Join us for build-up on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Match Day just around the toss. Until then, from all of us here, goodbye.
How do I do it all? The Brezza gives me the power.